Something I want to talk about.
Ready when you are.
All right.
I'm sure I'll remember by.
That's right. Thank you, everybody. I think this is shaping up to be a great meeting of the Bethel Board of Education tonight. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7:30. And if we could rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah, this is gonna be my favorite meeting here. So before we get started, I'd like to invite any public participation. Emily, our secretary.
Yep. So the board welcomes public comment at our meetings. If you'd like to speak, we just ask that you state your name and your address. Comments are limited to 3 minutes in order to ensure that all parties have an opportunity to speak. Our board meetings are not a time for discussion, so it should not be expected that the board or administration will respond, but if necessary, you'll be contacted for follow-up. If you're in person, we just ask that you raise your hand, and if you are on Zoom, we also ask that you raise your hand. So do we have anyone in person who would like to speak at this time? Do we have anyone on Zoom who would like to speak at this time? Okay, thank you.
Great. All right, so thanks, Emily. And next up will be a report from Daniel Pan, our two student representatives, Eli and Brooke. I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, so trimester 2 exams ended on Monday, and the Animal Rescue Club had therapy dogs in the library, so you could go before, in between, or after your exams and pet the dogs to calm yourself down. And with the end of trimester 2 starts the beginning of trimester 3, my last trimester as a part of this board, and my last trimester at Daniel Hand. So it's very exciting, but also a little sad. Throughout February, the Save Promise Club collected used teddy bears and donated them to the Madison Police Department to be distributed to families who couldn't afford them. The College and Career Fair is on March 13th, where over 100 people from different local businesses and colleges around the nation will send representatives, and they'll set up around the high school. They'll have little stands, and they'll have information for students. It's mostly juniors, but people of all grades are allowed to attend and just get a basic understanding of these colleges. And it's really helpful because we'll have colleges from California and Florida where you don't necessarily know if you want to take a flight over to California to see the college, but you can get a little understanding about the college and then decide if you are serious about it. And the American Red Cross will be at the high school on Tuesday, March 19th for a blood drive.
And now that trimester 3 is wrapping up, that also means that the winter sports are wrapping up. And we had a lot of success this year as the gymnastics team won states and the girls skiing team got second place at states. And then the spring sports are in the preseason right now, and they're starting next week. In the end of March, there's going to be a lot of junior testing coming up, with March 20th and March 27th having SATs for all students to be able to attend in school, and also the NGSS testing, which is a science required test for all juniors. And this means that all the other students will be able to have a delay, which is pretty nice for them. And going on to the next year, all the teachers and the faculty are really deep into the scheduling process, and they're making headway with it.
Thank you. Do you have any questions or comments for Eli or Brooke?
Eli, do you know where you're going yet?
No, I don't. I have 10 more colleges to hear back from.
Oh my
So
God.
I've only heard back from 2, so yeah.
Try not to think about it.
I think about it every day. I don't try to.
We can't wait to hear.
You'll have great options. Of
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll be the right one.
Yeah, no matter where you go. Success.
Yeah, thank you.
And all right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And next up is our superintendent's report. Dr. Cook.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Kelly. March is Board Member Appreciation Month. On behalf of the students, families, and staff of Madison Public Schools, I'd like to thank all our board members for their service. We will do a more formal recognition our second meeting in March, but I wanted to remind the board of that honor and thank them on behalf of the town. We have two exciting recognitions for Polson tonight. So it's really great to be able to combine these. They both came together. We had intended to have Will Verone earlier, but snow had impacted that. So when I was in Polson over in one time in January, Mrs. Hart asked me if I would be willing to sit down with Will and hear about his petition and survey and receive a PowerPoint presentation. I couldn't, pass on that opportunity. I felt a great conversation. I explained to him the fun details of how board calendars, school calendars are developed, and that we do this, 2 years in advance oftentimes. Will shared his thoughts in detail about how he would like to see the day after the Super Bowl off. He has over 225 signatures and maybe more at this point, but I felt it was important for the board to hear this great work of this young man and his friends. And I wanted to turn it over to Ms. Hart first, because I think she wanted to share a little bit about this as well and explain why she signed the survey herself.
So at Polson, Will is running around the halls with this pad of paper and a pen. And I said to him, "What is it?" "Oh, petition, get the day after the Super Bowl off." I said, "Hand it over, let me sign." Right? I'm number 147 on that. So as Dr. Cook said, I met with him and explained that Will and I had spoken. Will said, "What? I'm gonna get to meet with Dr. Cook? What?" And I said, "Yeah." He's like, "I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready for the right outfit," right? Had a great conversation with Dr. Cook. I left. It was all up to him. And next thing I knew, Dr. Cook had said, would Will like to come to the Board of Ed meeting and share his thoughts? So I met with Will again. I said, "Will, did you get the email?" "What email?" I said, "You got the email, the superintendent." So he took a look, we talked it through, and I explained to him everything about what the setup was, how it all works, how the Board of Ed works, because there's a lot of middle school students, they don't know exactly what the board does or how it functions and how important it is. So when I walked in tonight, Will says to me, "Oh, right, there is a gavel." So I turned it over to Will. He's got some great ideas to share with you. Thank you for listening.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Will Verone, and I'm an 8th grader at Polson Middle School. I am here today to request that Madison Public Schools approve time off starting with the 2024 to 2025 calendar for Super Bowl Monday. I have over 200 signatures from Polson Middle School and the community on a petition, and I believe there's a lot of support for this idea. The Super Bowl isn't just a game, it's a holiday. It's the grand finale of a long football season. It's the big game. In 2023, 115 million fans watched the Super Bowl, and 200 million fans were expected to watch this year. Football is the #1 sport in the nation. The Super Bowl has entered the unofficial holiday category. It is a needed break from tiring schedules with family and friends. There is late night excitement with food, drink, and spirit from a great game, a halftime show, and amazing commercials. We make a memory to be valued for years to come. There are consequences to Super Bowl Sunday. No one wants to face the next day. It's a Monday times 2. Students were up late and tired. Students haven't done their homework, nor do they have motivation to study for a big test. Students are unable to pay attention and learn the next day. Poor behavior results in cranky kids. Facing responsibilities on a Monday have a negative effect on mental health. Calling out sick affects the whole week because students and teachers fall behind, and schools cannot staff classrooms. Okay, reality check. How does America feel about Super Bowl Sunday on Monday? In 2021, 8 million Americans said they would take a pre-planned day off the Monday after the Super Bowl. Around 16 million American employees plan to miss Monday, February 12th, 2024, the day after the Super Bowl 58. According to a survey of 1,192 Americans conducted on January 10th to January 12th by the Harris Poll to the Workforce Institute at UKG. A survey of 1,000 people said that half the sports fans in the US would rather trade another holiday to have the day after the Super Bowl off. USA Today has reported that surveys show that nearly 90 people suggested they might call in sick on Super Bowl Monday, while more than 26 million American workers said they were more likely to miss at least some work the day after the Super Bowl. Super Bowl Monday for Madison Public Schools benefits everyone. There's motivation to do well instead of dragging through the day. There's less stress because everyone has extra time to prepare for Tuesday. Mental health is recharged to support the challenging tasks of the week. Performance is enhanced, resulting in better learning and test scores. Connectivity with family and friends is not cut short because of an early start on Monday. Teachers and students get a big morale boost because they feel supported to enjoy time at home without consequences. Conclusion and recommendation. I believe there is flexibility in the Madison Public School calendar. Health and wellness are a priority in our schools. Time off after Super Bowl Sunday is a wellness accommodation. The board could add one day to the end of the school year to support the day off. Minimally, the board could approve a late arrival on Monday without consequence. There is no impact on the required number of school days. And with your help, Super Bowl Monday will be a holiday at Madison Public Schools. Please vote yes to support this calendar change, and thank you for your time. Here are my sources.
I am fired up.
Any questions?
Ooh, I have a question. Thank you for your presentation. It's really well organized and compelling. I'm curious what led you to this. Was it a personal experience that you were too tired on a Monday or?
So every day I wake up after Super Bowl Monday, I'm like, can't get out of bed. My mom's like, Will, get out of bed. And we always arrive at school late.
Yeah.
And my brother, I drive with him because he's a high schooler,
Uh-huh.
and I arrive early, he always arrives late. So
So you're impacting him.
yeah, and I stay up till like 11, and the day goes by, and then I watch the Super Bowl, and then I wake up in the morning,
Got it.
and I can't get out of bed, just like I slump to school, and then I can't get any work done because like my eyes are like
Right, right. Understand.
just.
Did you have a lot of teachers sign? Because I would imagine.
I went to the office and I was like, do you guys want to sign this petition? And the entire office signed it, everyone in the office. Miss Hart, Miss Lindell, Miss Curran, Miss Shine, everyone.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you.
Great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Will, and so we'll be talking. Yeah, appreciate that. Also from Polson, we're pleased to have Christina Zaratny with us. You may recognize Christina. She presented at the state level last week. I sent the video out to the board, so she's been very busy representing Madison Public Schools and Polson Middle School. Christina came up with the idea to have Polson participate in a global reading competition named Read Bowl. Continuing with our football theme tonight, Read Bowl was put on by Malcolm Mitchell, an author of reading activities, former Super Bowl champion with the Patriots, and he does this program now. And so I will again turn it over to Ms. Hart to do a little more introduction.
Got a little pulsing right now, right? Great job, Will. Thank you. Nailed it. So thank you for hearing from Will, but now also recognizing Christina Zaratny. She's a 6th grade language arts and social studies teacher and does a whole lot more than just that. In fact, just a little sidebar, Leap Day, as we all know, only once every 4 years, Christina comes to a leadership meeting and she says, I've got an idea. I saw it on TikTok. I'm like, okay, let's hear it. So Christina's idea came into real life. Every single person, staff and students, has a Mardi Gras bead for Leap Day. And all around there's some set rules, but all through the day, we had rock, paper, scissors championship. And if you lost, you had to hand over your necklace to the next person. And then we had the playoff at the end for each grade level in the cafeteria at the end. Again, all just another brainwave of Christina, who hears and sees and reads constantly and has these ideas and brings them and makes them come alive at Polson. So I appreciate everything that she does. The Read Bowl, again, came from Christina. And I said, your idea, run with it. So she did. She went to her 6th grade team, shared the idea. And the entire 6th grade language arts teachers said, yep, we're in. So not only did all of our sixth grade students participate in trying to read the most number of minutes possible, which obviously we all know is a win-win for many reasons. But Team 6-4, Christina's homeroom and her partner, Miss Rayo, read the most for the entire state. So I turn it over to Christina if there's anything you want to add, and bring up your students so that they can tell a little bit about it too.
Where do you want to bring it at? Oh, there's.
Thank you.
Okay, so they can fit.
Yeah.
All right, everybody get, oh, yeah.
Perfect. All right, thank you, Ms. Hart, for that great introduction. I am Christina Zaratny. I'm a sixth grade teacher at Polson. And I have brought 4 students with me tonight to share a little bit more about a reading competition that we participated in.
Hi, I'm Christian Finnegan.
I'm Lincoln Williams.
Hi, I'm Colin Ferrara. Hi, I'm Farrah Pellegrino. We participated in a free 4-week global reading competition called Read Bowl. This competition was created by Malcolm Mitchell, a former Super Bowl champion of the New England Patriots. Malcolm found reading difficult when he was growing up, so he is using this platform to inspire students to read who find reading challenging or not enjoyable. Each week, we would get a bookmark to record our school and at-home minutes read. At the end of the week, we entered our total minutes read into a Google form. We then had access to inspirational videos from pro athletes, performers. Usher did the halftime motivational speech, and even best-selling authors like Dave Pilkney and Jeff Kinney.
There were 42 middle school teams, 2,497 students that registered in Connecticut. All 5 of our 6th grade teams at Polson participated. At the end of the 4 weeks, our Polson 6th graders read a total of 162,648 minutes, which is 2,710.8 hours.
Our class read for a total of 49,340 minutes, which is 822.33 hours. We were the top middle school class in the state based on the average of minutes we read. We not only get this honor, but we will be sent a box of books from Scholastic for our classroom libraries. This competition made reading more fun and has inspired us to read more.
And then what spoke to me as an educator was their mission on the Read Bowl website, which was they had 3 things that they were really looking forward, which was an increased access point, which is creating access to age-appropriate books is proven to almost triple interest in reading within months, improving reading interest. Our online reading challenges were created to inspire and encourage kids to read in a game-like environment. I am a little bit competitive. And enhancing reading skills. We want kids to engage in reading more frequently, ultimately improving their grade level of reading skills. So I think it was definitely a win-win. Any questions for us?
An annual thing, it sounds like it was a lot of fun.
It was. Would you do it again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many minutes did you eat?
Do you remember?
No.
They had it every week, so it started the 4 weeks before the Super Bowl. So every week they had to enter that and they had to add up. So we did some math in LA too. So but yeah, it was good. Yeah, and it was by average. They averaged the minutes. So yeah.
Did you discover any particular subjects that you like more? Biographies or sports or
Realistic fiction.
fiction?
No,
What's your favorite book? Each of you, what's your favorite book right now so far?
Out of my mind.
Concrete Rose.
Rivals. I just like history books.
You like-
Forward. Yeah.
That's great.
Good thing I wasn't in that competition.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. Great job. Great job.
And then the last item I just had in my report, I've mentioned this to the board several times. We've shared this with our employee groups as well. I just want to make it official when we talk about our pre-K configuration for when we start the new school year in 25-26. We will have pre-K at both of our elementary school buildings, so Neck River and Brown Elementary School would both have pre-K. It allows us to expand, and we were trending this way from 3 classrooms to 4 classrooms. So that was going to happen regardless, due to student needs. But also, it puts us in a better position, I think, to connect those students with kindergarten. They'll be in their home school, won't have to transport as much. And we will have the staff from TCLC go to both buildings, they'll split. So, you know, it's just exciting to see Neck River really start. There are crews out there. If you drive by the property, and, you know, we're making as many decisions and putting things in place as much as possible. Gail, myself, and the elementary team, and, you know, typically HR, sometimes technology, meet probably every 2 to 3 weeks to really begin the process and put things in place. So just excited to share that announcement, and as we have decisions made, we'll share those with the board and the public as soon as we can. Thank you. That completes my report.
All right, thank you. Wonderful. By the way, feel free to go. We're so happy. Celebrate your achievements, but don't feel obligated.
But keep,
Thank
keep
you.
coming back. Miss Hart, keep bringing kids. And nachos and chips and salsa would be nice, you know, thematically. There's some kid.
Goodbye.
It's such a good one.
Well, we have any other board member comments? How back to Paul?
Right, I love when the kids are here. I really, it just keeps it, you know, that's our true north right there.
I would like to wish the Daniel Hand High School fencing team good luck this Saturday. They are going to team states.
They are seated.
So the girls saber team is seated 1.
Wow, great.
Oh, Lord. All right.
And at this time, is there any audience response to the information that's been presented? Anybody online? No, all right, thank you. Next up would be our consent agenda. It consists of line item transfers, some budget expenditures as of February 29th, and also a February 2024 personnel report. It's in your packet. We've had a chance to see it. And we have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Steve, thank you. We have a second. Emily, thank you. Is there any discussion? Question? Yeah.
Discussion. I noticed that on the 28th is, I think the last board meeting was the 27th.
I think so.
Okay, that we approved a $90,000 transfer from. From a para account to a substitute account, but I didn't see the transfer in the 3-5 numbers. Does that make any sense?
So it was a transfer.
Yeah, so we-
Last meeting.
Yep.
Yep.
It was account 51121. We decreased it by 90,000. And then it went into 51210. So I didn't see that it went down or up.
Okay. I will have to get back in that. I'll help Stacy.
That's it.
All right. And Maureen, I know you're online, and I forgot to look in your direction. Do you have any questions or?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you. Well, with that question noted, should we call for a vote on this? All right, all in favor? Aye, opposed? None, motion passes 8-0, thank you. Great, at this point, we have board committee reports, and so Stephen.
Yes, the curriculum committee met this evening. And it was attended by Kathy Miller, Mary Ann Conlon, myself, Gail, Dr. Cook. What was presented was the world language curriculum by Jennifer Gozzi and Leslie Lopez. They're seeking board approval for the world language curriculum that is K through 12. That was a comprehensive presentation, and I encourage people to look at the accompanying documents that highlight a lot of the particulars, but I will give an overview. But let me begin that by stating, the representatives of the committee and myself really left the presentation impressed with the energy, investment, the deep understanding that these people have and the faculty have in what is their curriculum. And they began their presentation by thanking this board for giving them the space and the support for them to do that kind of work and develop their curriculum. It can't be overstated how powerful that energy and investment is as it translates to the students and the success that they articulated in the curriculum. In terms of some of the specifics, it was a very comprehensive group of faculty, that teach world language that are involved in the revision around the curriculum. And it's based on their knowing it and seeing its impact on students, what's working, what isn't working, and where adjustments need to be made. Overall, the philosophy and the idea around world language is very comprehensive, both from the standpoint of a trajectory of exposure to language to deeper and deeper immersion over the course of their K through 12 experience. But beyond that, the interdisciplinary cross-subject involvement, the focus on developing cultural understanding and competence, and really move the students from where they initially start as being pretty dependent upon the adults and students and and teachers rather, and giving one word kind of responses to the point where they take much more ownership. They can speak in sentences, paragraphs, and then, when you get into the higher level classes, doing comprehensive projects that show, much greater competency. What was embedded of note throughout the curriculum was their understanding and their investment in the profile of a graduate competencies. Of particular note was building in student awareness of their performance, evaluating how they're doing, and really involving them and being invested in their own learning. They noted that teaching language at the young age, despite the fact that it's costly, hiring, additional teachers makes a very positive difference in terms of the level of competency that is able to be developed over the time the kids are in our schools. So it was a great presentation, and again, what we have talked about often in this meeting, we refer to as, the Madison approach. The Madison approach being teacher working and developing their curriculum under the leadership of our assistant superintendent, and then owning it and putting energy into it and constantly refining it. It's just very impressive. Second item on the agenda was, a brief portion, and it was in relation to the right to read legislation and what Madison's continuing efforts are to be able to impact both with our legislators and with the state for them to understand what it is that we're doing in this district and to move their focus to one that begins to consider student performance, because the current legislation, as our assistant superintendent presented very clearly in our meeting tonight, the current approach doesn't consider student performance, even though the reason for the legislation was to impact on performance. And, on all of the standards that the legislation calls for, it's felt that, this district can respond, and has more than ample evidence. So we will continue to pursue that. What came from our meeting, and Mary Ann suggested, and I believe there's agreement from the curriculum committee that it would be something for the full board to discuss in terms of creating a letter or a position statement from the board that speaks to our investment in being able to control on the local level our curriculum and to continue the efforts. Our superintendent also spoke during the meeting to a meeting that he had with the faculty, in which he conveyed to the faculty this board's continuing support of the work that they have done and continue to do, and our efforts to try and protect that to the degree that we can. There was no public comment, and the meeting adjourned at 6:33.
All right. Do any questions or discussions for Steve? The report? I'd just like to say they're always on point and very instructive, so thank you very much. Next up would be facilities. Chairman Emily.
The facilities committee met this evening at 6:30. We had a few folks on Zoom. Bill McMahon, Peter Anderson, and Felicia Smith joined us on Zoom. And then in attendance, we had our committee members, Stephen, Diane, me, and Dr. Cook. So first, we had a report on indoor air quality. Basically, the state is now, we've been participating in the EPA Tools for Schools indoor air quality assessment for many years. The state now requires us to participate in this program with annual checklists that are carried out by school staff to make sure that we're staying on top of any indoor air quality issues in the schools. And then every 5 years to have a outside professional come in and do a more comprehensive review at a cost of $25,000 per school. So we did the big 5-year evaluation 4 years ago. But our new facilities director, Peter Anderson, is looking to possibly get this 5-year test waived for 3 of our 4 schools, because next time around they'll either be brand new or have new HVAC systems in place. So we'll keep us posted on that. They might be staggered to some degree looking ahead, but we did walk through, and it was, I think, an interesting conversation about the items that they're looking for. And it did seem that the process of the annual checklist done by staff really gives us an opportunity to stay on top of things and identify issues before they become bigger issues. We also then received updates on the Daniel Hand High School roof units. Engineering firm is doing the design work, and the plans are currently being reviewed. They hope in the spring of 2024 to finalize construction documents to go out for bid, and then to have a general contractor on board this summer. Looking ahead, the goal is for next spring of 2025 to have the RTUs delivered and then have them installed over the summer of 2025. So they're up and running for that beginning of the school year in fall of 2025. And it sounds like they're definitely taking lots of lessons learned with the HVAC system with the RTUs to date, looking ahead. And then Felicia Smith gave us an update on the Polson Bathrooms project. They're working on some sample bathrooms this summer to see what they'll look like. As you may recall, the priority is making sure that the bathrooms in Polson are ADA compliant. And then also that the doors are ADA compliant. So they did combine these 2 items. They're starting the design phase and the first phase of work. So hope to get a bid out this summer to first redo group bathrooms by the auditorium, and then single bathrooms on the hallway, as well as the interior doors that will be modified for ADA compliance. So they'll start that work this summer, and then Felicia did share some samples and colors. They're not, as she noted, as cheerful or as adorable as maybe the elementary school bathrooms, but as she mentioned, an eye to durability, keep it simple and easy to maintain. And that was it. There was no public comment. And we adjourned at 7 o'clock. End of report.
I'd just like to make a note, that one of the things that we talked about in facilities that I think is important at the board level is that if we can get that, first year waived, that 5-year, inspection that they have to do costs $25,000 per school. So if we can get 3 of the schools staggered from the other 2 schools, there will be less of an impact on the budget for that year.
Excellent point. Any more questions for Emily, or Steve or Diane? No. Okay, thank you. Well, the next one is easy because it's finance and we did not meet. So that will bump us up to, I think, Maureen.
Yes, ours is easy also because personnel has not met, so we do not have a report.
All right, thank you, Maureen.
Thank you.
And lastly, for the heavy hitter, policy.
Policy committee met on February 27th, earlier than usual. The usual characters were present. We discussed a bunch of policies for rescission, mostly in the 5,000 series with a couple in the 9,000 series. 9,000 series of the bylaws, there's only a couple, just to note that whenever we decide to rescind or revise 9,000 series policies, it takes a 2/3 vote at the board level. We also discussed some policies for rescind and replace. The majority of those were 9,000. And then we also talked about the new policy code of ethics and professional responsibility for in the personnel series, the 4,000. And that came from when we had rescinded the policy at the board level in the student section and talked about putting it in under the personnel. So we discussed that and we tabled it and we wanted to send it back to Shipman and Goodwin for further discussion and review. And Dr. Cook is gonna work with them to work on. There was the committee did want to have something in there regarding, personnel accepting gifts, with a monetary limit. And so we discussed that at great length. And so we're gonna send that back and see, if Shipman Goodwin can give us some more guidance on that and what other districts have done with that policy, et cetera. And then I want to just draw your attention to the packet that you have tonight. We have a first read for some policies for rescission and a first read for some policies for review. And then we have action items tonight that are a second read in the 9,000 series for policies for rescission. And again, that will take a 2/3 vote. And then we have a second read for policies for review. And one of them is the school district logo and mascot policy that we have discussed at great length. And so if anybody has any questions regarding the policies that are action items tonight or anything else, I'd be happy to try to answer them. You do have in your packet a policy summaries for your policies in your packet from Shipman and Goodwin. End of report.
Okay, great. And I think it's probably worth noting that most of the policies were voted on tonight for rescission because the language is redundant or shouldn't have it.
Yeah.
Recommends that we don't get it. So.
Oh, and I just want to make one other note. So it's only the beginning of March, but when it comes to policy, Zoe and I are looking ahead because most of the time we only meet once a month for policy. We discuss things that comes to the board, usually requires 2 reads. So we're really looking to plan for the end of the school year for this year because it's the last meeting in June that we really take any action on policies. So if there's anything that's near and dear to your heart that you wish we would look at, just pop me an email. And Zoe and I are going to meet this week to discuss what to finish up the school year strong.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What's the question?
Yeah, please.
I appreciate all the work that your committee does. I'm just curious, like so many of these, I'm looking at the notes. It's not mandatory, it may be repealed, not mandatory, maybe repealed for the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. I'm just curious, were these policies at one point mandatory and now state statutes have incorporated them, or did we just sort of go
No.
through a policy happy phase in our history? or-
So we used to follow like CABE's version of
Yeah.
policies, and they at the time had a lot of policies that were not necessarily governed by statute or law. It was just like a good idea to have. And Shipman Goodwin they're really going in and cleaning up the number of policies that we have to condense it and make it shorter to things that we must have. Get rid of, superfluous policies and And some of these are sort of a hindrance. So like, for example, the automobile use and parking policy 5120.9.5. You know, Dr. Cook had discussed with Mr. Salutary that, you know, if we have a policy on this, it sort of restricts what TJ can do with regards to allowing the juniors and seniors to park at school. And so,
And we're always gonna be 5 years behind.
right, because we're not, you know, reviewing these on an annual
Right,
basis.
right.
So if it's something that we don't need, it isn't necessary, and is gonna, you know, cause us to have to constantly review things and change them in order to keep on top of it, then it's really not necessary. And a lot of these also were sort of policies that were either put in the wrong place or something that's really something that the administration handles. It doesn't really need a policy to be governed by the board. You know, we make policies, but we don't administer them.
Right.
And a lot of these are things that happen either on a school to school basis where it's going to be handled differently, you know, at Ryerson versus Hand.
Right.
So that's something that's really handled by the administration and by their student handbooks, et cetera, and that we don't need to have an overall policy guidance on. Anyone, Dr. Cook, you want to add to that? Or?
No, you covered that perfectly. I think that past policies, as Diane said, either came from CABE or a specific incident that might have happened in 1994 that we see kind of carry over. And so that's really the recommendation. I've heard from people that use our policies, families and staff, that they appreciate not having as many to go through.
Yeah,
You know, so it's been really one thing.
thank you.
That's great. Next up is Lauren.
We're meeting next week.
I see. Good. How's the breakfast?
Not as good as it was.
Okay. All right.
Disappointing.
All right. I wasn't there.
You only bring out.
No, that one they put out.
Okay, all right.
I think since COVID, they haven't, you know,
Okay, an important.
put it in packages.
All right. So, all right, our next action item would be a motion to rescind the following policies. 9650 policy communication and dissemination, 9700 school board communications. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
So moved, Diane, thank you.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you, Emily. And let's open up for discussion. Remember, this will be a 2/3 vote, right?
Yes.
See, no need for discussion. Let's call to a vote. All in favor?
I,
Opposed? None? Abstained? None? Thank you. Motion carries 8-0. Item number 11 is an action item. We need a motion to approve the following policies. 5120.9 homeless students, 9540 transaction of business, 9210 role of board and members, and 1200 school district logo and mascot. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, Diane, thank you.
Second.
All right, thanks, Kathy. And then, again, is there any discussion on the topic, the motion? All right, Sam.
I guess everybody.
Please, yeah.
So have they decided definitely what the logo is? Or-
So the
Yeah,
committee has only met once. We haven't met yet again, so it's still in the process. So that's a good point, though. So after this, assuming this passes this evening, the policy goes into effect immediately. So then we would probably need to decide if we're going to sort of waive the policy and while this committee finishes the business that we've already started. And I would normally, you know, I'm sort of a stickler for rules. But in this particular case, like the committee that the AG has formed pretty much is already made up of the people that the Board of Ed would have chosen, you know, with the mix of coaches and, you know, people from the community and, you know, with the AD acting as the chair. And so it's the same process, and they're gonna bring it to the board anyway. So I would be very comfortable with not enforcing starting over with a new committee. But that is, you know, certainly something that the board can discuss if it wishes to.
And at that meeting, did they have like any idea or?
Oh, yes, so, well, I reported on it before, And the logos themselves are going to be sort of revamped by some students using the Fab Lab. And it will be brought to the committee and brought to coaches for tweaking. And there's going to be a unified approach to the colors and the font and how things are written across the board for all sports. And we had discussed I had passed around the choices for the colors and the fonts and everything. And so the final version will include everything. And then the goal is to have, one vendor, which is the vendor that we currently use for our sports uniforms and football helmets, et cetera. And that will help us to decrease the cost across the board for all sports and also for the boosters. And then it will be a unified look, unified logo, unified font, colors for every.
Will that come soon? Will you be having another?
I hope so.
Okay.
Guess that's a question for Chris. But yes, I expect it will be soon. I will send an email.
I was in touch with him. I think this is a good time for us meeting soon because winter sports are wrapping up. I think it's, just boys basketball and fencing still competing. So, hopefully by mid to late March, we can get that out of those. I did, I'll check in with him again.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, because I was thinking, when we were talking about the budget, talking about the marching band uniforms, like all that would be incorporated in that also, right?
Excellent. Well, let's go ahead and call a vote on this. All in favor of approving these policies, 5120.9. I'm sorry, 5120.9, 9540, 9210, and 1200, the logo and mascot, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None, abstained, none, thank you, motion carries 8-0. And speaking of uniforms, the next action item is a motion to approve a donation to the Daniel Hand High School girls tennis team by the Hand Tennis Boosters in the amount of $2,200 for new tennis uniforms.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
But they should wait.
Well, it's,
So, but normally when you order new
Yeah, it takes-
uniforms, there's a delay.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's say.
I'm sure Dr. Cook will not allow them to order something that's not.
So for this,
Kind of wait until.
for this donation, I believe it was for this year's girls team.
Oh,
So
they
approving
already-
it tonight would get it ordered. We're gonna have that situation,
Yeah.
regardless.
It's gonna be like a 5-year.
Yeah, it's gonna be 5 years for, right.
By the time you phase it all out.
Right,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
But I do have a question though, like, do we have it in our, budget plan and our CIP? We cover uniforms, so why are they paying for the tennis uniforms?
I think they wanted something specific, maybe off cycle as well. So I think they did some fundraising. It's pretty dynamic.
Are these like throwback tennis
Yeah.
uniforms? Are they?
Yeah.
Is there something special about them or?
It's a pretty tight knit group that I think they did some fundraising and they play together a lot
Or
during the
something trendy?
off-season. Yeah, that's a very generous donation,
That
right,
is.
yeah. Very
I was
significant,
just
yeah.
curious,
For a
because
small
normally,
team, not a huge team.
normally we pay for that, so.
great, all in favor?
I-
Aye, opposed, none, no abstentions, again, motion carries 8-0. Thank you, do we have a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting, February 27, 2024, Board of Education special meeting?
So moved.
Diane, second. Thank you, Mary Ann. I did not read the minutes with the fine tooth comb.
You're good.
They're good? Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Thank you. Motion carried, nothing. Please feel free to contribute to future agenda items. Meetings and dates of importance are attached to your packet. And now we could adjourn if we have a motion and a second.
So moved.
Diane,
Second.
Emily? Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We will adjourn the meeting at 8:20.
I know.